Imos dar comenzo o acto de investidura como doutor honoris causa do excelentísimo señor Don Gatse Letinga. Prego a secretaria xeral da Universidade proceda a chamar o padriño e máis o doutorando.
Precoraudias, honorem Petro. Titulum Doctoris Cuius Universitatis nomino H. Letinga merita eius. Magisterium et opera pro evo procuntur.
Honoris causa op amicitiam meritaque candidati quod petis habeat. Dovenia. Dovenia.
Esteemed Rector Magnificus, dear members of the Academic Board, dear Godfather, dear colleagues, friends, interested audience. My presentation will be about my anaerobic sustainability story. For me and my co-workers at the former department at the Wageningen University, it is a big honor to be nominated to receive this Doctor Honoris Causa degree from your 5-century-old university. And especially because I have been nominated by my promoter, godfather, very well known in the field of our anaerobic digestion. I feel grateful, especially because of that initiative. In my presentation, I'll attempt to give an overview of how things developed in the field of high-rate anaerobic wastewater treatment at our university and in the Netherlands. I'll try to clarify the enormous positive impact of the anaerobic wastewater treatment tackle for society. To my opinion, already a lot has been achieved, and I'm convinced it is the way to achieve a sustainable type of environmental protection and even more a sustainable type of society. Let me spend first a few words on my background, my roots. I am showing a number of slides. I'm not going to read the slides. You can read them yourself in order to save some time. Standing here now for my new degree of Doctor Honoris Causa, my thoughts involuntarily go back to my childhood, to my small village, Dongjum. Here a photo, 1935, small village of Dongjum. Life at that time was in that village as it was centuries before. It changed in the decades afterwards, especially in the last 3-4 decades. You see there a young person, that is me, that was me. In my childhood, it was exceptional that a son of a farmer would think about an academic study, especially the person you are seeing here, a little bit shy, maybe very shy, not very ambitious, ignorant, and lacking a bit of self-confidence. Now I'm standing here, very, very appreciating that I have been honored with this degree, or will be honored with this degree. It was my mother who stimulated and encouraged me to start an academic study. She was the first important woman in my life. Until up this moment, she has been, that is my wife, you see, Dora. We married in 1965. She has been my support since '65, and she's supporting me till the day of today. After my high school in the city of Harlingen, I started in 1954 a study in chemical engineering at the prestigious Technical Delft University. My student time was an incredible experience and frequently very enjoyable. The conditions that time were very different from now. Till the bachelor's phase, I found my study rather boring. The inspiration came only during the Master of Science period phase, when I started the experimental research in the field of drinking water production. And particularly during my PhD phase of my study, when I was working in Delft Technical University on radioactive wastewater treatment. Perhaps you might wonder how I, 70 years young, do feel now standing here in front of you. I said grateful because of this Doctor Honoris Causa, but particularly because my life has been a sequence of lucky incidents. a sequence of lucky incidents. I feel extremely indebted about my past and about the future. At an age of 77 years, it is time, I think, to make an evaluation. In doing this, and considering the critical situation in our present world, for example, the unacceptable high unemployment level of young people, I simply, very simply have to admit that it has been relatively easy for me to achieve what I achieved. And speaking about future things become abstract. I think they need to be considered in the light of the notion sustainability. Sustainability, as, for example, very clearly explained and published by the Brundtland Commission in 1987. With respect to that notion, I personally always have been very impressed about the vision of Brundtland, the well-known World Commission of Environment and Development, and the recommendations they made in the final report. I just show here a few. But the first one, I think, is the most important one. People are the ultimate resource. That is on what we have to focus if we speak about sustainability. The present issues of this sustainability notions are in fact issues of higher moral value. Policymakers, politicians, CEOs of big multinationals get nervous if they read about these things. If they should read the end report of the Brundtland Committee. It's 25 years ago, 87 published. And casting back once again on what we achieved in our personal life, in all our personal lives, once you are at age 77, it looks that ultimately mainly those achievements count which are related to the long-term interest of humans, the next generations. We, humans, are reflecting creatures, frontliners in evolving life. We always try to understand what is going on, to gain more knowledge and insight, and to create ever better instruments, tools, in order to perform better and better, in order to understand better, and possibly, in case we succeed, to create some marvelous type of society. It is incredible what happened in these 70 years of my existence, especially during the last decades, and in all aspects, scientific, technological, and cultural. But it looks we hardly are capable to digest and to react properly to all these rapid changes. There are risks of serious uprooting, so we have to be very careful. According to Teilhard de Chardin, the philosopher I admire since I read for the first time in 1965 to about, his philosophy, the phenomenon of man, you just can read, we, more than any other creature before us, have greatly our future in our own hands. We are the frontliners. And especially we, the present generations, have the big privilege to live in a crucial and very critical period of transition. So it is up to us. If, therefore, we make the proper choices with respect to how we use our achievements, we need to keep control over it. I think the simple message of Teilhard de Chardin is, but also of Brundtland, that we need to focus on serving the interest of all people, wherever and whenever living. And it is now up or down. Something between doesn't exist in my view. So let us speak now a bit about our field, my field. High-rate anaerobic wastewater treatment is very promising. One of the very promising recent creations concerns that high-rate wastewater treatment development. And I had the privilege to stand on the crib of some of them. The USB system in the 70s and the EGSB system in the mid-80s. At that time, at the time of the development of the USB system, the basic knowledge of the microbiology and the biochemistry of anaerobic digestion degradation processes was still marginal. It was a black box. And in fact, it also was true for the anaerobic digestion technologies. The first time I was faced with the preliminary technology, very primitive at that time, in its extreme simple form, was in my childhood in my village. At that time, and up to the late 60s, sanitation practice in my village consisted of the collection of night soils in the dwellings, using the well-known basket system. You see it here in the slide, but it is not in my village, it is Amsterdam. Also up to the 60s. Later on, we all had the flushing toilets, and the wastewater was, for the great part, discharged in the canals of the beautiful city of Amsterdam. The collected night soil in my village was transported once a week to simple open concrete anaerobic digesters, located in one of the fields of my father. I was amazed, ignorant of course about everything, maybe somewhat already fascinated about what was happening in these containers, especially because it didn't produce any malodor. It looked a very long time before these tanks were completely filled up. And then, upon emptying them, the stuff removed from the tanks appeared to consist of a fine type of compost. My father was eager to use it for fertilization and food production. Up to the 60s, in fact, very few environmental specialists were aware about the enormous practical potential of anaerobic digestion process. But from then onwards, microbiologists and biotechnologists gradually succeeded to disclose the secrets of the system. And along with that, its big promises for waste and wastewater treatment. And I had the big privilege to experience these developments and to contribute to that. In the last decade, many times younger colleagues, among them several PhD students from our group, came up with questions as mentioned here in this slide. Why could we develop the USB system? Why at the Wageningen University? All these kind of questions came to me several times on my visits abroad and when visiting people, our department. I did several attempts to write a booklet, but always gave up. However, after my godfather, Juan Lema, informed me about his plans and about the success that he could attain an honorary scholarship for me here at this very famous university, I thought this is my last chance. There was a clear time limit. I thought it would be relatively simple to do this, but the contrary was the case. I have been working 3-4 months, day almost day and night with the support of my wife and many others in order to create a booklet in which I could explain the how and the why. But it needs some kind of improvements. I need to elucidate specific topics, views, developments, and the number of statements. So it is not completely balanced. I only have 20 issues. And I'm going to distribute these 20 very carefully. And if you are interested, I'll do my best to write an extended form and you can have it. How did I start working on anaerobic wastewater treatment at the Wageningen University? I began my career in mid-April 1970, very eager to work on some type of challenging environmental protection concept. Completely ignorant in the field about biological treatment, because my background was physical chemical engineering. Consequently, I didn't know anything about anaerobic wastewater treatment. But the benefit of that is you are open-minded, not prejudiced. And by some lucky incident, one of the very first papers I read about biological wastewater treatment, already the first month I started working in Wageningen University, after I moved from Delft, was the publication of James Young and Patty McCarthy in the journal Water Pollution Control Federation, dealing with the anaerobic filter system. I immediately was convinced about the big benefits of that system. I understood that Patty McCarthy read some old report from the beginning of the 19th century about the development of the anaerobic filter system in Massachusetts. He was impressed and he reintroduced the system for industrial wastewater treatment. We started studying the feasibility of the anaerobic filter system, his system, which he had reintroduced for potato starch wastewater, using exact duplicate of the system he published in that journal. Although potato starch wastewater belongs to the category fairly complex wastewater, we noticed that the system performed very, very well. Surprisingly well. But even more important was that we experienced that the system gave the information to improve it. We got the information to develop the UASB reactor system. The UASB and the EGSB, EGSB is a system, no, let me say first something else. Here you have diagrams of the UASB system, and one of the very fascinating findings in this UASB research is the generation of a granular anaerobic sludge, consisting of immobilized consortia of a wide range of perfectly cooperating microorganisms, anaerobic microorganisms. The grains vary in size 3 to 4 millimeters. In this granular sludge, each typical wastewater is producing its own typical generation of granular sludge, according to composition and size and form. But based on the formation of these granules, we developed in the 80s the EGSB system. The USB and EGSB system have been successfully implemented in less than 1 decade. And the question is, this is the one first full-scale reactor, EGSB reactors, full-scale. And the question is, how could we succeed to get these systems so smoothly developed and implemented in the industrial sector in the Netherlands? And there are different reasons for that. First of all, I think the excellent financial position of universities at that time. We were more or less completely self-sufficient. We could do what we wanted with respect to research. And then in 1972, the Water Pollution Control Act was implemented in the Netherlands, So everybody was more or less charged to treat its own wastewater. So the interest in the industry was expanding. The industries are self-sufficient with respect to the decisions they make. We had an excellent financial support of the Dutch ministries and also management. And we enjoyed the establishment of motivated, very delegated new contractors in the field, which led to excellent cooperation. I think simply time was mature to get this anaerobic high-rate treatment system implemented. As mentioned so far, we are dealing mainly with one-step, I think I mentioned already, one-step compartment versions of the USB and EGSB systems. It's understandable because one step, only one reactor, is the most low-cost system you can apply. But in fact, these one-compartment systems are mainly suitable for chiefly soluble and well-biodegradable types of wastewater. Consequently, more simple types of wastewater. For domestic wastewater, we need more extended, more multi-step systems, let me that say. Stage reactor systems, as in fact developed, investigated by Jules van Lier for his PhD work for thermophilic anaerobic high-rate treatment systems, but also later for treating more recalcitrant types of wastewaters under mesophilic, this lower temperature conditions, by Robert Kleerenbezing and others. Frequently, people ask me, why didn't you patent the system? Why didn't you patent the system? The main reasons I object against patenting are, first of all, to my view, environmental protection systems and concepts like the USB reactor need to be freely available for all people, everywhere. This is sustainability. I don't believe that there's a second reason, that for universities, researchers, or universities, patenting really is profitable. And I think, in fact, at the contrary. In many cases, it is a headache, a false dream, and to my opinion, particularly the professional groups of lawyers takes the benefit of that. It is not new wisdom, I think it is very old wisdom. So I would recommend read again Thomas More, Utopia, like I recommend read Our Common Future. Let me say a few things about the application of anaerobic digestion and anaerobic waste treatment systems for the public sanitation sector. So I spoke about the industrial. It was relatively easily to get it implemented. But industrial public sanitation sector is very special. We know, I already explained, for prolonged periods of time, that anaerobic digestion systems are ideally suitable for mineralizing and valorizing concentrated and slightly diluted types of night soil. I spoke about my village, my father, the reuse. So primary sewage sludges can find the same application. It is also clear for you, I hope, that for the optimal application of anaerobic digestion, excessive forms of dilution of human domestic residues waste needs to be avoided. I presume most of you are aware that in modern sanitation practices exactly the opposite is happening. That is the main reason for that. The main reason for that lies in the wide-scale use of high clean water-consuming flushing toilets, the modern comfort. which we apparently all want, simply for reason of comfort. We don't really understand what we are doing. They were introduced in the first part of the last century. However, citizens, I think, don't realize that the implementation of these systems led to, first of all, generation of huge amount of diluted, hazardous, risky domestic wastewaters, and secondly, to increasing transport-directed, extraordinarily expensive, and virtually non-sustainable centralized tackles in the domain of public sanitation, with the use of complex, expensive, and rather vulnerable aerobic wastewater treatment systems. Why this excessive centralization? Why using aerobic waste treatment? Why not anaerobic wastewater treatment? The answer on these questions is not simple. Yesterday evening we had a nice meal and we discussed this matter in a small group. And I think we need to extend these discussions. Personally, I am convinced, and I know many of you share my opinion, that we need to reconsider the tackle in public sanitation very significantly. For instance, the substitution of conventional aerobic wastewater treatment systems by high-rate anaerobic wastewater treatment. It was for us the reason to start research in the field of domestic wastewater treatment after we did the research in industrial wastewater treatment. And the results we obtained with domestic wastewater treatment under tropical conditions, so warm types of sewage, were so promising that the Dutch Development Organization in 1981 decided to provide a big grant to demonstrate the system under tropical conditions in Cali, Colombia. And the results we obtained with this Cali, Colombia project, a 64 cubic meter reactor system, like shown here, were so very promising that we expected an enthusiastic response of the established public sanitation sector. Because, like in the industrial sector, the wide-scale implementation of the system would lead to very substantial cost reductions for the people, for the citizens, and to a much more sustainable environmental protection approach. However, except in Brazil and to some extent in Mexico, and thanks substantial DEGES, Dutch Development Agency support, in India, the reality appeared to be almost opposite. The implementation of the system in most tropical and subtropical regions proceeds very laborious. And one of the reasons, in my opinion, is the extremely reluctant attitude of the established public sanitation world. And I can say a lot more about it. If you are interested, please. I will explain in more detail. I am convinced that ultimately also in the public sanitation sector domain, like in the industry, the transition to optimally decentralized tackles will come off. Directed to pollution problem prevention and to resource recovery and reuse in decentralized, optimal decentralized settings. A few words now. This is one of the very big full-scale installations installed in Brazil. Chernicharo is here from Brazil. He is the responsible for the system, and I think it works quite well. Also Brazil, full-scale, and here a system which is small-scale, everything from Brazil. So we have to cooperate and we cooperate and we'll learn from each other. So the future is not too bad, I think. But we need the transition in the public sanitation sector. And one of the hard workers in our department, and I know there are a lot more, is Grietje Zeeman. And she's sitting here. And we expect a lot of her fights. But we need a complementary methods. Anaerobic treatment is just the pre-treatment. Anaerobic digestion just removes the organic pollutants from the wastewater. So as a diagram, it is a natural biological mineralization route we have in mind to achieve a complete treatment of the wastewater, whatever type of wastewater, and the complete valorization of the pollutants. So the next step in this NBM, natural biological mineralization route, is microaerobic. A minimum of oxygen in order to get rid of the remaining pollutants present in the wastewater. It is an innovative system, and it's extremely, for me and for all the people working in our department, and just two here, Kees Buisman and Albert Janssen, is the application of this high-rate microaerobic system for the removal of volatile sulfur compounds, including H2S, from wastewaters and recovering it as elementary sulfur. But this microaerobic method is also very effective in removing colloidal matter. So it has very big potentials. I'm not going in detail because I think I will run out of my time. But maybe I give some information. And with respect to staging, I said before, we need for more complicated type of industrial wastewater, we need staging, especially for wastewater containing recalcitrant compounds. For example, microaerobic or chemical aerobic oxidation step, as investigated and pushed by Jim Field in our department, guided, of course, by his wife on the right side from him. He will admit that, I think. And of course, we have fascinating other developments in mind. And in fact, there is work already being done in this field. It is to use conventional or modern types of aerobic wastewater treatment in order to cultivate types of biomass to recover and reuse and valorize the nutrients left in the effluent of the anaerobic system, like duckweed, algae, etc., to produce ultimately clean water. So these NBM systems, here the position of this aerobic wastewater treatment system, the position of these NBM systems together with the proper collection of the waste without misusing clean water, by limitation of the transport, ultimately will lead to a tackle and environmental protection which is robust and very sustainable, not very centralized. You can say optimally centralized. And high-rate anaerobic wastewater treatment systems are acting, that is my view, have been acting as a crowbar to develop these sustainable environmental protection systems. And secondly, these NBM systems, what I explained, natural biological mineralization route, act together with the other collection systems to get this sustainable environmental protection. And then the evolving environmental sustainable tackle, and together with developments of other domains like renewable energy, will constitute a powerful crowbar to push society to the urgently needed sustainability in society. But this is difficult, undoubtedly the most difficult things we have to face, the challenge. And one of the most critical transitions for achieving a more sustainable society, in my opinion, is finding the means to eliminate inherited and or newly formed ugly social diseases, which perhaps are the most serious, the inherent lack of social security, because it forces individuals, citizens, companies, institutes, cities, states, etc., in heavy fights of competition, especially, it is always, especially at the basis of the society, not at the top. The multinationals, they find their solutions without heavy competitions. This social insecurity, inherited or newly formed, is the driving force, in my opinion, of the outdated free market system. We need a transition of this system. I admit it has its big benefits. For instance, it created a very dynamic and highly innovative directed type of society, but at the same time it frustrates the implementation of sustainable recommendations made by Brundtland. The implementation of sustainable methods and concepts in practically any sector of society, like in the public sanitation sector. These kind of things have to be considered. And of course, it is a limitation to come to the proper use of all these fantastic achievements we have developed as mankind. Because what we have developed should be used for the benefit of all people. I think the main reason for our inability to cooperate in society and to offer a good perspective for young generations lies in the fact of lack of social security. But of course, there are many other reasons. We need a transition to a type of society where everybody can enjoy a minimum of social security, more or less in line with the ideas of Thomas More, and in fact, to my opinion, also the values formulated by the Brundtland Committee, and a society where labor is restricted to what is really essential. Such a society will offer, according to the father and the son, Svitelsky, this is a new. How much is enough? We should concentrate much less on making money and much more on cultivating the things that matter: leisure, knowledge, and friendship. So concluding my presentation now, I see a multi-stage rocket, as the first stage and the most powerful stage, I think. The module of the anaerobic high rate and treatment system, including modern anaerobic digestion systems. As the second module, the NBM treatment tackle, is very holistic. And a large number of people attending the AD conference, they are already working in this fascinating field more and more. As a third module is the sustainable environmental protection, extremely challenging. And as the fourth, a sustainable society, incredibly difficult, complex. In the fifth module, we only can speculate about that. And I hope in a very relaxed, peaceful, sustainable world. I hope that we remain rooted to the planet and to the life on the planet. So the record should go and find its way, but in the proper way. Thank you for the attention.
Rector Magnifice Peto Bene.
Do venia.
Rector Magnificus of the University of Santiago de Compostela, academic authorities, colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege and a real pleasure to me to represent the Department of Chemical Engineering and the School of Engineering on this occasion, when the University of Santiago de Compostela will appoint Professor Hatchelettinger as Doctor Honoris Causa, the first proposed by the Department and the School of Engineering of our university. As promovendum, I have not explained the qualities of the candidate in the presence of so many friends and colleagues from all over the world who share this day, a special day with us. I would like to express, on behalf of our university, our gratitude for that. I am convinced that my role today will be very easy, due to the impressive, quantitative, and qualitative merits of the candidate and for his exceptional personality. I will base my laudatio in three main arguments. First, the important inputs of Professor Hatchelettinger on the science and technology related to sustainable wastewater treatment systems. The second, his contribution to development of the research activities at the Department of Chemical Engineering of our university. And third, his strong commitment for a more sustainable and well-balanced world. Hatchelettinger was born in Friesland in Frisia, an historic province in the north of the Netherlands, with its own language and a strong identity, as well as Galicia. This is not a minor detail. I will try to demonstrate through this speech that the Hatch's origins can explain many things concerning his work and his life. He graduated in chemical engineering at the University of Delft with a specialization in drinking water technology. Then he performed his PhD in the same university with a thesis entitled Radioactivity and Water Supplies in 1972. Perhaps this early approach to the radioactive area could explain his views against the nuclear industry. Frisians, as Galicians, have a very intimate relationship with water. In the same way that Galicia is the land of the thousand rivers and the rias, Friesland is the land of the thousand lakes and channels. Water is a capital word in Friesland, as many of their traditional social and economic activities are closely linked to the use of water. Thus, the water quality became a major objective for the region. Hatche has understood this requirement since he was a child, and therefore he decided to devote his life to this cause. In 1970, as a son of a farmer, he joined the Wageningen Agricultural University as associate professor and as full professor in anaerobic treatment technology. During this period of over 30 years, he created an outstanding school in an international and stimulating environment where ideas bloomed every day and where hundreds of scientists and engineers from many countries worked to find solutions to real environmental problems, mostly of them related with water pollution. He has always maintained a strategy in his research, trying to develop innovative, sustainable technologies and, at the same time, improving the basic understanding of them. Which is also relevant is that most of his findings were lately scaled up for an industrial application. Along his career, Hatche has developed an impressive work that can be classified in four major areas. The first is anaerobic digestion for organic waste stabilization and energy production. The result of this important line includes the significant improvement of understanding of the granular anaerobic digestion process, an important insight in the process of granular sludge growth, and the development of new high-rate systems like the extensively applied USB and EGSB process in one or multi-step configuration. He has demonstrated the feasibility of anaerobic systems for the treatment of a large variety of agro-industrial, chemical, agricultural, and municipal wastewater. His work includes large full-scale installation as well as community and house on-site systems under a variety of temperature conditions. The second line is the application of the biological sulfur cycle. This research resulted in the significant improvement of the understanding of the biological processes involved in the development of new high-rate reactor systems for sulfate reduction and for the conversion of sulfide into sulfur. The third line is the post-treatment of anaerobic effluents, aerobic, microaerobic, and physicochemical, and where compact systems for the removal of pathogens, malodorous compounds, and colloidal matter were developed. Also, new-rate microaerobic reactors and ammonia strip process for ammonia and phosphate salts recovery from high-strength agricultural and industrial wastewater were also implemented. Fourth line is gas treatment. This line considers the removal of sulfur compounds from natural gas, off gases, polluted air, and the conversion of carbon monoxide into CO2 and hydrogen. Cooperation has been always a solid vector in the Hatch's career. He applied, since the very beginning, a win-win policy, establishing strategic links with the Department of Microbiology of the Department of the Wageningen University, but also with the Department of Biotechnology of Technical University of Delft, and with the Department of Microbiology of Groningen University, and indeed, with many other laboratories worldwide, including our department. In the 80s, he established the Netherlands Technology Foundation, a cluster of 8 companies that all supported anaerobic research work and funded many projects, particularly with companies like Pax, Biothane, Royal Haskoning, and Grondmig. Long-term relationships were established, and many alumni found jobs there as process engineers. One should bear in mind that all this was taking place during a period when many academics considered that working closely with industry was almost like making a pact with the devil. Also, in this particular field, in this particular approach, Hatche has been a pioneer. As academic results of his impressive activity, he has supervised 58 doctorates and hundreds of master theses. He published more than 500 papers in international journals, and his H factor is 50. But perhaps the most important contribution to academia is the number of his PhD students that are now full professors in respected universities worldwide, many of them sharing with us. As a recognition of his work, he has been awarded with a number of prizes outstanding: the Karl Linford Award in 1992, the Royal Shell Prize in 2000, Doctor Honoris Causa by the University of Valladolid in 2001, the Tyler Prize for Environmental Achievement in Los Angeles in 2007, and the Lee Kuan Yew Prize, Water Prize in Singapore in 2009. I'm sure you can guess how this impressive, intensive, and extensive work could have been done. Hatche applied the Frisian proverb, "Du binnen een scholier, zolang je leeft." That means, in English, I don't think I explained well, but I explained to them, one should learn as long as one lives. But also his tenacity and positive thinking, well-known characteristics of Frisians, largely explain his success. Hatche believes in the human being, the person behind the researcher. He frequently mentioned that everybody has her own qualities that must be powered. By feeding these qualities, the person will reach unbelievable levels. trusting in his collaborator and students has been the most powerful instrument for developing the creativity required in a leading-edge team. But besides this, has a trick, a secret that I'm going to reveal you right now. During his life, Hatje has applied something that he learned in Friesland since he was a child, playing a very popular activity in the region. He applied the Whirlpool strategy, which consists of jumping across a body of water, helped with a pole, a large stick. Along his life, he really has assumed many challenges, and when needed, he used his intelligence and energy as a pole to overcome the problems. Very modestly, in 1986, we started research activities on anaerobic wastewater treatment in our department. From that moment on, and for the following years, we received a strong support from Hatje Lettinger and his team, which allowed us to go faster and further. A relevant number of researchers working in our lab, who afterwards became researchers or teachers in our or in other university, have spent research stages in Wageningen. I should mention now Ramón Méndez Pampín, Rafael Vázquez Caeiro, Manuel Soto Castiñeiras, Francisco Mil Prieto, Gumersindo Feijó Costa, Gladys Vidal Sáenz, Diego Méndez Paz, Maite Moreira Vilar, y Fernando González Formoso. We have also maintained a number of common research projects funded by the European Union. You can imagine how important the tremendous impact of this support on the development of our research group was for us. It's now time to thank him again all his extraordinary help. Due to the presence of researchers from our and other Spanish universities, and also Latin American universities, Spanish became the second language in the department. And sometimes even the Galician language was also very well represented in Wageningen. I should say that after all these years, he is considered as a very dear member of the great family of Spanish and Latin Americans. By applying his principles, he has performed an incredible amount of work in favor of implementation of low-cost and low-energy demand technology in many countries. I should mention all the cooperative projects in Latin America, Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, Venezuela, Cuba, Asia, Indonesia, Vietnam, China, India, Thailand, Philippines, Jordan, Palestine, Egypt, and Africa, Ghana, Tanzania, Morocco. In the frame of these projects, hundreds of scientists and engineers have been trained and an impressive number of installations have been built up. But he has not followed his path on his own. He has a solid ally, a person with an incredible personality, with very different cultural traditions, but sharing with Hatje his principles and objectives. Hatje cannot be understood without Dora. She has been much more than the wife of the boss. Her home sometimes appeared as a warm shelter. She was like the fairy godmother, a continuous support for so many young researchers that had to adapt to the Dutch culture. On behalf of all them, thank you so much for your kindness and your help. A tower of fellow, as strong as an ox, of dark complexion, broad-shouldered, he became a freedom fighter of legendary standing. Do you recognize him? This could be a precise description of Hatje Lettinger, but actually, this is the description by Petrus Zaborita of Pier Herlofs Donia, a Frisian warrior living in the 15th century, best known as his Frisian nickname, Grote Pier, the Big Peter, which referred to his legendary size and strength. Frisians are well known for being stubborn, very honest, and democratic. And this is a very fitting profile of Grutte Hatze. Basically, Hatze has been, and he is a fighter against injustice, a pioneer, a defender of the environment, a generous leader, a friend of his friends, and a champion for sustainability. Please, Grutte Hatze, continue applying your intelligence and your energy to lead us towards a more sustainable and righteous world. Rector Magnificus, on behalf of all members of the Department of Chemical Engineering of the University of Santiago de Compostela, but also on behalf of the hundreds of colleagues and friends that have enjoyed knowing Hatze Lettinger and following the tradition of the ceremony, I proclaim he is the causa Peto Gradum Doctor Honoris Causa Domino Hatze Lettinger.
Autoritate igitur mi concessa legibus regni tibi domino Hatze Lettinger confero gradum doctoris honoris causa in ingenieria química in et comito reclaro domino Juan Lema patrono tuo ut insignibus doctoralibus decoret.
Cape ian colate tibi dignitatis ornamenta et quid illa instituto maiorem portendam intelligitio. Filius ig liberalis tibis et bellum laureum coronamentum quo donabantur post certame victores. Inut animo tecum reputa nil esse letteris et doctrina prestanius nil sapientia nobilus eius rei causa aureum annulum quo ol imprimores in res publica in sinimbatur tibi deferendum concedimus. Librum ad facultatis nostra studie pertinentem clausum et reseratum concedimus eurunque similesci excedito scholar loco explicandi interpretandique tibi ius esse cito. το περιβαίνω de adapta a τη dignitate totius academici, quetus nomini gratulemutur, hic noster tibi testetur amplexus.
Descubiertos, todos descubiertos.
Attendito giuramento.
Iura saliptere poi secundum. Semper ubique que fueris, iura privilegiat et honorem uius universitatem eiusque doctorum conservare. Favore et prudentium consilium prestare, quotiens fueris requisitus, et eam eiusque doctores a omni calumnia verbot et opere defendere,
Si foro et si voto.
Egreviur Domine Gatse Letinga. Te admito et incorporo in collegium doctorum universitates Compostelae cum omnibus honoribus libertatibus exemplitionibus et privilegis quibus gaudent et possunt gaudere alisimiles doctores in Compostelano studio et ubicunque terrarum in orbe, et titulus vius admissionis et incorporationis tibi confero.
Et ego tibi omnibusque doctor bis gratias quam pluribus libertissime ago.
Señor Presidente do Consello Social da Universidade de Santiago de Compostela. Señora Vicerreitora de Investigación da Universidade de Vigo, señor Vicerreitor de Titulacións, Calidade e Novas Tecnoloxías da Universidade da Coruña, señores Vicerreitores da Universidade de Santiago, señora Secretaria Xeral, señora Xerente, autoridades e representacións, claustro da Universidade, miñas donas e meus señores. Hoxe teño a honra de presidir o primeiro doutoramento honoris causa como reitor da Universidade de Santiago, na persoa do doutor enxeñeiro Gatse Letinga. Graduado e doutor en Enxeñería Química pola Universidade de Delft, foi durante 30 anos profesor da Universidade Agrónoma de Wageningen e constitúe unha referencia mundial no eido do tratamento e recuperación das aguas residuais, domésticas e industriais. A proposta do profesor Letinga como doutor honoris causa corresponde ao profesor Juan Lema Rodicio e, de acordo coa normativa da nosa universidade, recibiu inicialmente o apoio do Departamento de Enxeñaría Química e da Escola Técnica Superior de Enxeñería, sendo valorada positivamente pola Comisión de Accións Especiais a aprobación do Consello de Goberno e a ratificación do claustro. E concedeuse pola repercusión notoria, importante, dende o punto de vista universitario, no terreo científico, tecnolóxico e social, valorándose preferentemente, ademais dos méritos do candidato, a súa contribución ao progreso da Universidade de Santiago de Compostela. Professor Letinga, it is a great pleasure for me and a great honor for our 500-year-old university to receive you to the Board of Doctors of our institution, based on your academic impact, scientific, technological, and socially. We value especially your contribution to the progress of the University of Santiago de Compostela. O profesor Letinga entra a formar parte do claustro de doutores da nosa universidade da man do Departamento de Enxeñería Química, do cal celebramos recentemente o 60 aniversario da súa existencia, primeiro como Departamento de Química Técnica e dende o ano 1986 xa como Enxeñería Química. E o fai como primeiro doutor honoris causa de Enxeñería Química da nosa universidade. No que respecta ao seu impacto científico, o profesor Juan Lema fixo unha longa presentación dos seus merecementos. O profesor Letinga é o inventor, alá polo ano 1976, do reactor anaerobio de leito granular e fluxo ascendente, o UASB, que pasados os anos convertiríase nunha alternativa aos tradicionais sistemas aerobios tanto no eido das augas residuais domésticas como industriais. Naquel momento, o profesor Letinga tomou a decisión de non patentar o seu invento e poñelo a disposición de toda a comunidade científica e industrial, o que permitiu unha grande expansión dos sistemas nos países en vías de desenvolvemento e por razóns de aforro enerxético e ambientais. Na actualidade, dos máis de 3.000 sistemas anaerobios instalados, o 80% incorporan a tecnoloxía UASB. Unha decisión que honra, especialmente cando a misión da Universidade como servizo público está a sufrir unha permanente presión para supeditar a súa acción como vehículo de progreso social a rendibilidade económica en todos os seus eidos de actuación. Como científico, o profesor Letinga é autor de máis de 500 artigos científicos, como ben sinalou o profesor Lema, dirixiu máis de 60 teses de doutoramento, escribiu libros, impartiu conferencias por todo o mundo, formou parte de comités organizadores e científicos de numerosos congresos nacionais e internacionais, desenvolveu proxectos en numerosos países en vías de desenvolvemento e emerxentes e recibiu, como tamén se sinalou, un dos premios de maior recoñecemento internacional no eido do medio ambiente, o Tyler Prize for Environmental Achievement, que otorga a Universidade do Sur de California no ano 2007, e o Lee Kuan Yew Water Prize no ano 2009, un dos premios de maior dotación económica, por outra parte. Cando citaba ao principio da miña intervención como un dos criterios de selección dos doutores honoris causas da Universidade de Santiago de Compostela, o compromiso real e continuado na nosa institución. E así foi. Un grupo moi importante citou a profesores que hoxe son nosos, que tamén están outras universidades de Galicia e de fora de España. O seu apoio foi básico, como sinalou o profesor Lema, nas primeiras fases do grupo de Enxeñería Ambiental e Bioprocesos da nosa universidade. E o contacto entre os dous departamentos vense manteño por máis de 25 anos, destacando a colaboración en 4 proxectos europeos e diversos de carácter nacional. E sigue. Actualmente, o Departamento de Enxeñería Ambiental da Universidade de Wageningen forma parte do proxecto Novedar Consolider, liderado pola Universidade de Santiago de Compostela. A presencia activa do profesor Letinga, a pesar de terse xubilado hai uns anos, maniféstase a través da Letinga Associates Foundation, que coa axuda de varios grupos industriales holandeses apoia o LEAF Award, que cada 3 anos concédese a un proxecto dedicado ao oído dos reactores anaerobios e que no presente ano se outorgará ao longo da conferencia 13th Anaerobic Digestion Conference, que se inaugura no día de hoxe aquí en Santiago de Compostela. I wish to thank all of you who decided to be here with us, both from our university and those who came from all other parts of the world to attend the 13th Anaerobic Digestion Conference and have accepted to be part of this academic event. We are honored, and we honor the person and the scientific figure of Gatse Letinga. Remato a miña intervención agradecendo a presenza dos membros do claustro da nosa universidade, así como de todos aqueles que, sentindo un especial afecto cara a persoa e a figura tecnolóxica e científica de Gatse Letinga, decidiron acompañarnos para facer, unha vez máis, dun pequeno país un país grande. Máis nada, moitas grazas. Moitas grazas ao coro e á música. Levántase a sesión, prego a secretaria xeral que organice a procesión de saída.